Hello everybody, it is Bev with Stampin' with Inky Fingers. It's Wednesday again. Today is Wednesday, January 27th, and so it is time for mystery stamping. I'm just going to go through everything with you again today. If you've not joined before, what mystery stamping is I'm going to show you a series of clues. Well, first of all, I'm going to give you a supply list so you can collect all your supplies that you need to make this particular card. And then I'm going to give you a list of clues. We're going to go through them, and at the end you'll have created a greeting card that you can send off to somebody or keep for your scrapbook, whatever you want. So getting started with mystery stamping, the first thing I'm going to point out is we are stamping with Inky Fingers. And the host code, if you're placing an order with me anytime this month from January 15th to the 31st, this is the host code to use. Keeping in mind, if your order is under $100 or under $200, you can use this host code. If it's over $200, do not put the host code in, because then Stampin' Up! Will allow you to use the host codes for yourself. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is go through the list of supplies that you need. And again, today is Wednesday, January 27th. So you're going to need, color number 1 is going to be your card base. You need 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And then you need a piece of 1 by 5 in that same color. Okay. Color number 2 is going to be a piece of 5 1/4 by 4 and a piece of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 square. The basic white or very vanilla is going to be 5 by 3 3/4, 5 1/4 by 4, 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 square, and a piece of scrap for your sentiment. All right, your DSP or Designer Series patterned paper, you'll need a piece 2 by 4. You'll need a stamp set that has images and a sentiment. A punch or die to coordinate with your sentiment. We're going to cut that out. Okay, for ink, you want 2 colors that are going to coordinate with your Designer Series paper and or your cardstock, and a black ink. You need some embellishments if you wish, so ribbon, trinkets, rhinestones, or pearls, and then your choice of adhesives. All right, so once you've got all those gathered, then we'll get started with the clues. All right, so that was clue number 1, all your supplies. And clue number 2 is to fold and burnish your card base along the score mark. Okay, so just fold it, and then if you've got a bone folder, use that to score it. Clue number 3 is on your piece of 5 by 3 3/4 basic white or very vanilla, you want to randomly stamp an image covering the piece of paper using the lighter colored ink that you chose. All right, so basically you're making your own Designer Series paper in this case. Okay, clue number 4 is on the same piece of 5 by 3 3/4 basic white, randomly stamp a second image using the darker color ink. Okay, clue number 5 says adhere your basic white stamped piece to color number 2, which is the 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of cardstock. Clue number 6. Adhere these pieces to the front of your card base. So now you've got the piece of white that you stamped on. It's attached to the 5 1/4 by 4 piece of colored cardstock. And now you're going to attach both of those pieces to the front of your card base. Okay, clue number 7. Adhere the 1 by 5 inch piece of cardstock to the front of the card over the previous layer. And I put mine off to the left edge a little bit, but not too far. Basically just off center is where you want to put that strip. Okay, clue number 8 says adhere the piece of designer series paper centered over the strip. So that strip that you just adhered, put your piece of designer series paper over the center of it. Okay, clue number 9 says stamp your image on the square piece of 2.5 by 2.5 basic white and color that image if it needs coloring or if you want to, depending on the image that you're using. Okay, clue number 10. Adhere the piece of 2.5 by 2.5 basic white that you just stamped your image on. Adhere that to the piece of 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 color number 2. Okay, so you're just matting those two pieces is what you're doing. Clue number 11. Using Stampin' Dimensionals, adhere this square piece to the front of your card base. And again, I put mine basically right in the center of the card, kind of overlapping the strip and the piece of designer series paper that you have. That was clue number 11. So clue number 12 is stamp your sentiment on the piece of basic white and punch or die cut, or even just using your paper snips. Okay, when you've got that done, clue number 13 says adhere your sentiment to the front of the card using Stampin' Dimensionals. And I put mine sort of down in the bottom left corner. It's touching that square piece that I attached, and it's also touching the DSP. But again, depending on how big your sentiment is where you're going to adhere it. Clue number 14 says to adhere your basic white, which is 5 1/4 by 4, to the inside of your card base, and then embellish that piece if you want. Sometimes I'll stamp a matching image on the inside, or if you want to put another sentiment on the inside, yeah, whatever you choose. And then I also didn't include, but if you wanted to put any embellishments on the outside of your card as well, any ribbon or rhinestones, or depending on, again, the images that you used. Okay. And clue number 15 is your mystery is solved. So here's the card that I made. That's a picture of it, and then this is the actual card. So I've used the Pacific Point as my card base, and I use Balmy Blue as the coordinating color. And then my basic white, the stamp set that I used is called A Touch of Ink, and this is available for free with a $120 order from either the annual catalog or the January to June catalog. All right, so it's part of Celebration, and it's one of the freebies that you can choose with a $120 order. And I love, love, love this monarch. It's actually quite lifelike, I think. And then behind it, I stamped the solid image. So I stamped the image first, the detailed image in the Pacific Point ink, and then I stamped the background in Balmy Blue. And same with the white piece that I stamped. I used the butterfly for my bigger stamp, and then there's just a little blotch in here, and that's what I stamped in the darker ink around. Right, and then the sentiment is that same sentiment from the stamp set, the thank you so much. So there, that is our mystery stamping for Wednesday, January 27th. Thanks for stamping along with me. And again, if you are placing an order with me and it's under $200, there's the host code that you can use for that. And if it's over $200, do not put the host code in, because then you'll get those host credits yourself. All right, have a great week, everybody, and I'll see you next Wednesday.